Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast. My name is Michael Crosa with Chattanooga Podcast Studios. I'm sitting with Elaine Zambos, Director of BNI Southeast Tennessee, and we're recording here in Wavelength Space in downtown Chattanooga, and our set was made by Mad Honey Rentals, so thanks to all of those wonderful people. I'm excited, Elaine. We're starting a new series. So, of course, the mission of this podcast is to be a resource and a service to the BNI region and to BNI as a whole, really, right? I mean, I think anyone around the world can benefit from this podcast. So, specifically, what we're about to go into is a series about the different leadership roles within BNI.
Okay.
And so each episode, we're going to highlight a different role. We're going to start with the membership committee and move on from there. And we hope that this is something that's beneficial to our chapters and that people can use and learn from.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we can do it.
All right. This episode of the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast is made possible by Superpower Strategies and Beth McClary Walford, helping businesses increase revenue by showing them how to find the right clients, connect with them, and love on them real good. An ideal referral would be a business owner with 0 to 10 sales staff who's frustrated by stagnant growth. Find out how Superpower Strategies and Beth can help you out by scheduling a free consultation. Just go to superpowerstrategies.com, which is linked in the show notes below. Okie doke, Elaine. So we're starting our first episode of our leadership role series.
Yes.
And we're starting with the membership committee and more specifically, with quality assurance.
Okay.
Cool.
So before we do that, I want to back up just a little bit. So when we think about your BNI chapter, think about it as a business.
I like that.
Right? Because like the happy hour chapter, we've already done $879,000 in business, right?
Yeah.
And so we're a business. Each of our chapters are a business. And so when you think about a business, there's a CEO, right? In BNI terms, that's the president.
Okay.
There is a COO, right?
Uh-huh.
That's their vice president.
Vice president. There's
a CFO. That's the secretary treasurer. And then in your company, you have an HR department, which is our membership committee. Mm-hmm. So if we think about it in that situation, our membership committee is the human resources department. And within the human resources department, typically, if it's a big company, each person has a different role within human resources, right? Mm. So in BNI, we have 4 people in the Human Resources Department or in the Membership Committee. And so today we're going to talk about one of those roles, which is our Quality Assurance Specialist. Now, I brought the BNI manual with me.
Right on.
Because there is so much. And if you were listening to the BNI podcast on listener questions, people were talking about why is it so hard to follow systems and procedures? Well, I've got 83 pages here to share. No, right? So when we think about the quality assurance specialist, what does that person do? And quite honestly, I think they're all important roles, but this job is super important because this is the person who determines who is in your chapter and who is not in your chapter. And so if you think about it in human resources role, this is the person who's going to be interviewing all the new candidates for your company. They're doing the interviews. And when they interview somebody, they're also checking references, right? They're doing background checks. They're looking to see that this person really is who they say they are. And so not only are they doing that, they're doing an internet search, they're doing the online application, they're doing the references, the interviews, and professional classification. So when we talk about the professional classification, we may have an industry, and then within that industry, you have a classification. So like, for instance, Michael, as a podcaster, you fall under advertising and marketing.
Yes.
But you don't own the advertising and marketing everything, right?
Everything within it.
No, you're just doing podcasts.
Right. And there's actually not a seat for podcasts.
Not yet, yeah.
Right, not yet. There probably will be soon. Yeah, I think I'm media services. But
right. Yeah. But that doesn't, so you're media services, but that doesn't mean that you have the digital marketing, the website development, all of those seats,
Billboards,
right?
whatever.
The billboards,
Yeah,
the radio advertising.
Right.
You don't have that. You have the media services. And so that's also part of the quality assurance person, to make sure we put them in the right category, and then they understand what that category is, because that will cause conflict in a chapter really fast, because we call that being a classification cowboy, which is probably a whole nother podcast in itself. So that's what they're doing. And when they're also going to look at, if it's for instance, a realtor, they're going to be looking at the production of this person to make sure that they do have a license. There's different websites to go to make sure that people have the licensing that they say they have. One of them that I find a lot of times is for the financial advising seat.
Yeah.
Because you got financial advisors, you got financial planners, you got all this stuff. And they always say they're licensed, but you really they might be licensed to sell life insurance, and that's how they do their financial planning, or are they licensed with securities? And so depending on what you're looking, it is different.
Yeah.
So depending on what you're looking for in your chapter, that's what you want. Here's the other thing is the quality assurance specialist is one person. One person does the interview. One person checks references. One person does the background check. And I know that seems like a lot, but if one person's doing it, we know it's getting done. Because in the past, we broke that up into several different seats. So Michael, you're doing the interview. Allison, you're going to check do their background check. And Elaine, you're going to check their references. And then several days goes by and Michael says, "Hey, Elaine, did you check their references? Oh, I thought Allison was doing that." right? So it doesn't get done. And so if you think about it from the perspective of an interviewing process for a company, you don't want to string that candidate along for a long time.
Right, totally.
Right? That's just rude.
Yeah.
And so it's the same way in our BNI chapters, is we want to make those decisions and make those things happen as quickly as possible. So the quality assurance person really has a lot of things. And so in the BNI manual, it even has all the questions to ask in the interview. It has all of the classifications that are available. And then it even has the questions, to ask when we're calling for the references. And those references really should not be a girlfriend or a wife or, it needs to be a customer. It needs to be a business reference.
That's a good point, because I find a lot of times in the applications people put their supervisor and their supervisor, which kind of doesn't really... No. It doesn't help.
Right, right. We have an application that's in right now, not for our particular chapter, but another chapter. And the person put me down as a reference. And so the chapter called and said, "Elaine, that's kind of goofy." And I go, "But really it's not, because I have been a customer of this business for probably 5 years."
So it checks out.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
Although it is a power move.
It really is kind of a little bit of a power move, But it's a good power move.
Yeah,
really,
why not? Take it, yeah.
I've been a customer of theirs for about 5 years. And so, but yeah, you want it to be customers or business acquaintances. And then, we don't want to accept everyone.
Yeah.
It's not a situation where you just fill out an application, pay the money, and you're in.
Right.
We have a situation going on right now where a chapter had let a couple of people into the chapter that probably shouldn't have been there. And it's really, the chapter now has imploded because, so again, we want to make sure that we get the right people in and keep the wrong people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the job of the quality assurance specialist.
Gotcha. Cool. Have there been any stories? I guess we talked about some stories recently, but any stories of a quality assurance person gone wrong?
You mean where they've allowed somebody in and they shouldn't have?
Yeah, or maybe the quality assurance person was just asleep at the wheel or something like that.
And I think, absolutely. And I think that all goes back to what we were talking about earlier is if you follow the process.
Follow the process.
If you follow the process, you follow the systems that are in place, those things shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that the person that, as a leadership team, that you choose for that role is going to pay attention to those details.
Yeah.
Because it's really important.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, cool. Okay, so that's it. That's quality assurance.
That's quality assurance.
All right,
Absolutely.
quality assured.
In the human resources department.
Great. Well, cool. Well, I'm excited to talk about the next one. What's our next?
Well, if we're going to stick to membership committee, we're going to move on to the member engagement specialist.
All right. So next week will be member engagement specialist. And Elaine, now I know this for sure, but where do I find this manual?
So, great question. As a leadership team member, you would have gotten it at your leadership team training. It was emailed to you electronically. You also got a hard copy of it in your leadership team folder. And then it's also available online with the BNI Business Builder.
Okay, so lots of places
to get it.
Lots of places to find it.
Or you can email me and I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah.
cool. This podcast is produced by Chattanooga Podcast Studios, helping businesses and organizations make a deeper connection with their audience through the art of podcasting. An ideal referral for me would be a professional organization with a state or national presence. You can get in touch with me, Michael Crosa, by going to chatpod.com. That's chat with 2 T's, like Chattanooga, which is linked in the show notes below. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening to the BNI Southeast Tennessee podcast. My name is Michael Crosa with Chattanooga Podcast Studios. We hope you'll share this with your chapter. And Elaine, I'm a new dad.
Yes.
Yes. And I hear you got a dad joke for me.
I do. So do you know why Cinderella is so lousy at soccer?
Okay, why?
She's always running away from the ball.
And wearing glass shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Glass slippers.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.